Just one moment, everyone. I'll be right with you. Oh, wow. That's great. I'm going to ask everyone who's going to be joining us, if you could please share this with the various pages and groups that you're part of. We'll reach a lot more people, we'll have a stronger effect. So I'll just give it a moment for some of our friends and supporters to join us. And again, just please share this. Moment. It's good. Okay, we're on. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I'm Mayor Weinstein. It's a pleasure discussing current events with our community, with our friends and supporters on a weekly basis every Wednesday evening, and there's a lot going on. And just before we get into the issues, let me just discuss the Parsha, and that will get us right into exactly what the points are to be covered tonight. Last Shabbat, in all the synagogues, we read Parshas B'Shalach. This is the Parsha when the Jewish people leave Egypt and they cross the sea. And the Parsha starts, and this is critical to understand. People have a lot of misconceptions about how the Jewish people were back then in Egypt, what the community was like, what the leadership was like. Parsha starts, it happened when Pharaoh sent out the people that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, because it was near. In other words, they could have left Egypt in a simpler fashion. They could have gone by way of what is called today Gaza, okay, from Egypt, instead of traveling in such a long route. So God didn't let them go in that direction. For God said, perhaps the people will reconsider when they see war and they will return to Egypt. So God turned the people towards the way of the wilderness to the Sea of Reeds. The children of Israel, listen to this, it's very important. The children of Israel were armed when they went up from Egypt. Full stop. The rabbis comment on this. According to the Midrash, the word derives from the word hamosh. Now the word hamushim, armed, they left armed. The word derives from the root word hamesh, which is the fifth. And it implies that only 1/5 of the Jews left Egypt. The rest were not prepared to adopt a new life as God's people. They died during the plague of darkness, so that the Egyptians would not see that Jews as well as Egyptians were losing their lives during that plague. Think about it. Think about it. Think seriously about it. The Midrash is saying that 80% of the Jews did not leave Egypt with Moses. They died during the plague. I spoke to my rabbi last Shabbat about this. I said, what gives? Democracy. Majority opinion. Majority are against leaving. Majority are against doing anything Jewish properly. He says to me quickly, he says, Jewish law is not democracy. And that's 100% true, if you think about it. And there's going to be some people that are going to be very offended by that. But look at the world. Every time you go to Walmart, who are you supporting? Who are you supporting? We got no problem with China. And Israel surrounded by Arab and Islamic countries. Are those democracies? Everybody is interested really in themselves. Deal with Russia. Is that democracy? But we have to hold Israel up as the model democracy. That's the fraud that goes on today. And not only that, we have Jewish organizations that speak in such terms and condemn Israel because it's not good enough for them. Not good enough for them. There's been a lot of messages from J Street. J Street, they claim to be a pro-Israel organization, although they really do enable the BDS, no question about it. And they're praising various appointments by Joe Biden for his administration. There's an appointment they made with a person by the name of Robert Malley. Let me just get the headline. J Street praises that Joe Biden has appointed anti-Israel Hamas enabler Robert Malley as special envoy to Iran. We have a video of Robert Malley, but just think about it first of all. J Street claims to be pro-Israel, tries to say they represent the best interests of the Jewish community, and they are praising this person, Robert Malley. Now, Hamas fires rockets into Israel. In Hamas's charter, they call for the destruction of Israel. If they have it their way, and you lift the blockade that's in place right now by Israel, Hamas would love to receive shipments of arms from Iran in order to fire more missiles into Israel. We have a little video that we want to show.
Hezbollah and Hamas, the two most prominent groups, although the Sadrists in Iraq also fall in that category. It's a mistake to only think of them in terms of their terrorist violence dimension. They're social political movements, probably the most rooted movements in their respective societies. Hamas, not a majority among Palestinians by any means, but very deeply rooted. It's been, it was born in the first Palestinian Intifada in the 1980s. It has deep loyalty. It has a charity organization, a social branch. It's not something you can defeat militarily either, and people need to understand that. There's so much misinformation about them. I mean, I speak to them, and my colleagues speak to them. Now, we may disagree with them, but they have their own rationality. That's the one thing to understand. None of them are crazies. They may do things that we consider to belong to a different realm of rationality, but within their own system, it's often very logical. If Hamas is not allowed to govern, if we squeeze them, and you may have good reasons for doing that, but if you do that, we'll tell you what the reaction will be. Rockets, no doubt. And consolidation of Hamas's power in Gaza. Both things have happened. There had been very few democratic elections in the Middle East, and the United States had the Bush administration decided its big banner was going to be associated with the promotion of democracy. That was the big fight. You have a democratic election in Palestine, recognized by all monitoring groups as being free and fair, and perhaps the freest and fairest in the region, Israel excluded. And then the day after that happens, we say, not only are we not going to deal with you, but we're not even going to have a dialogue to see what you need to do to see how we can deal with you. One of the big fallacies, I think, of policymakers is to think that if you weaken and divide the other side, you're in a better position to reach a deal. You want a strong Palestinian leadership. You want a strong partner and a legitimate one so that they can sell those concessions, those compromises to their people. It's very hard for an organization like Hamas to simply say we're going to do a 180-degree shift in our positions. We've asked them to do that. It's the hardest thing to do. It's also not the most meaningful. Let's say that tomorrow they renounce violence, rhetorically. Does anyone believe they'll actually renounce it on the ground? That they're going to disarm? No. The better approach, we thought, was to say, we're going to judge you by your acts. Not do you renounce violence, but are you prepared to implement a ceasefire? Easier for them to do, much more meaningful, I would suggest, for Israel. Number two, not are you prepared to recognize Israel? I mean, one of the things Hamas will always say is, we won't recognize Israel, and why does anyone ask us to do it when nobody's recognizing our rights? So why do you ask the occupied to recognize the occupier? Okay, we could debate that. But that's not what we should ask them. We should ask them, are you prepared to give President Abbas a real mandate to negotiate an agreement with Israel, and then put that agreement to a referendum, and if the Palestinian people accept it, you'll abide by it? Much easier for Hamas to do. In fact, they've already done it. Also much more meaningful.
Okay. It's really incredible. Just a moment. Okay, so J Street, here's the tweet from J Street. J Street applauds the Biden administration's appointment of Robert Malley to serve as U.S. Special Envoy to Iran. Malley's distinguished career and impressive talents make him the perfect choice to take on such a vital role at a critical time. Now, when Israel left Gaza, they pulled out completely from Gaza, and they handed over the keys to the PA, the Palestinian Authority. Shortly after that, the so-called democratic Hamas, as Robert Malley would try and spin it, they killed PA officials. Not only did they kill them, they threw them off rooftops. That's the democracy in Gaza. Hamas is designated as a terrorist organization. And you don't speak nicely with terrorist organizations. But to J Street, because their agenda really is anti-Israel, they have a soft spot for those who are completely against Israel. And that's why pay attention to what it said in the Parsha. 80% stayed in Egypt, 20% left, 20% were right. The minority was right, staying with the truth. Let me just see, got a comment over here. Need to start calling out Hamas supporters in Canada? Absolutely. As a Christian Zionist, I can't understand how a Jew could have voted for Biden. It makes as much sense as Queers for Palestine, but even more ridiculous. You're a Jew. What are these people thinking? Common sense has completely left the planet. Doug, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. It's a sad situation. I want to focus now on another issue. I mean, there are so many officials that have been appointed by Biden that there's another, hang on, and J Street praises this guy as well. There's so many of them. One moment. Biden appoints another person, new Assistant Secretary of State. He worked for various BDS group. He hates Israel. There's a quote by this person. Let me get you his name. There's just so many of them. Meir. After September 11th, he was quoted as saying, "I was inspired by the Palestinian Intifada." Let me mention another thing. Just the other day, Joe Biden accepted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. That's a good thing. Maybe he's playing both sides. Who knows? We'll find out. It's very early to know really what's going on. But he has appointed various leaders of BDS organizations that call for the elimination of Israel. And if he's adopting the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, then he really should be getting rid of these people ASAP. So we have another situation. We have a professor at York University. His name is Faisal Buddha. So let me read you his bio. Faisal Buddha is an associate professor, Osgoode Hall Law School, York University, and former vice chair, Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. Faisal Buddha is also the legal advisor of the NCCM, National Council of Canadian Muslims, and the chair of the NCCM National Security Policy Committee. So he's involved with the NCCM. Okay, and the NCCM, they say that they're advocating for the Muslim community in Canada, and of course, nothing wrong with that. There's their logo. The phone number is our phone number if you want to call into the show if you got a comment. But there is something that we should be discussing about Faisal Buddha. He made a statement recently, but he made a statement in response to, well, let me just read you briefly what the statement said. 1 second. Yeah, so on January 30th, he wrote an article, and the headline is Smearing, Silencing, and Anti-Semitism. He says, on June 10th, 2020, I participated in an online debate. It was organized by Ryerson University's Center for Free Expression and the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. The debate was entitled Fighting Anti-Semitism or Silencing Critics of Israel. What's behind the push for governments to adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism? So he opposes the definition of anti-Semitism. But we have a short video of what he's referring to where he says he's taken out of context. So we'll take a look at that video, and then I'm just going to read on a little more of what he had to say. And remember, he's a professor at York University, and not only that, he's with an organization on campus as well. As you know, he's involved, like I said, with in a big way with NCCM. But he's also involved with an organization on campus called Faculty for Palestine. And those are faculty members and professors of various universities that advocate against Israel that are heavily involved with BDS. So let's, so if the doctor in the studio could play the video 8, and then we'll get back to what the discussion about that.
And I would just, to answer the question that was put to me, look, the question about self-determination and Zionism. I mean, Zionism is not actually or accurately about self-determination. It's about Jewish supremacy. It's about, it insists upon Jewish supremacy in the Holy Land. And for that reason, it is racist, and it's incompatible with a vision of Palestine. It's incompatible with the vision of Palestinian human rights. It's incompatible with Palestinian self-determination. So you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth.
So you don't believe that there should be a Palestinian state living side by side beside the nation state of the Jewish people? Is that what
I'm not saying that. I'm not declaring a support for any kind of state. What I'm saying is that I'm describing what I understand Zionism to be as an idea and as a practice, which is the suppression of Palestinian human rights for the purpose of ensuring Jewish supremacy. And it's exactly what is being protested against in the United States today against white supremacy, systemic racism,
So you're
which is the
equating
problem.
white supremacists with Zionism?
I'm equating white supremacy with Jewish supremacy. I think both are equally morally repugnant and deserve to be called out and spoken against. And the reason why I oppose the definition is because it chills that form of expression. It turns me into an anti-Semite for expressing statements of solidarity with former colonial and currently colonized people in the world. And this is my problem. This is the issue, is that at this time of heightened racial awareness, it has to be said that the IHRA definition is anti-Black and anti-Brown because it casts those who support Palestinians into the same camp as white supremacists.
You know what, Bernie, at the beginning, I remember when we had the discussions about what the IHRA definition was, I suggested that we circulate it and people read it. And I think that anybody who reads the definition including the examples. And
Okay. We're back. Also, if you have any questions, concerns, please call. The number will be back on the screen very soon, but the number is 647-510-5535. Call. We'd like to hear from you. Any comment, any question, I'll do my best to address it. So let me just look at the statement. So it's very clear.
There, we got a call.
Call?
1 second.
Okay. Go ahead. Can I help you? You're on.
Hi, it's Jordan. How's it going, Mayor?
Very good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I got a question. Is
Yes.
CJN working with NCCM, and have they brought up Buddha to NCCM?
Okay. Is CJA, the main Jewish organization, working with the NCCM? And have they brought up this any concerns about this professor who's also heavily involved with the NCCM?
Thank you, Jordan.
Have they? Thanks for your question. Well, that's a great question. Apparently, CJA, from what I understand, does work on some campaigns jointly with the NCCM. I'm not sure if CJA is fully aware of these statements from this professor. If they're watching this show and if they follow some of our emails, what we send out, the information we give out, then I guess they would be aware of it. Let's forward this information. Let's make sure they get this information. This is something that if they have some kind of working relationship with the NCCM, they should be discussing this, because I think the comments are very shocking. And I think if there's other professors that are with this organization, Faculty for Palestine, if this is the kind of language that they're using, and if it's being taught, and I don't know if it's being taught in the classroom, I don't know. But if it is, that certainly is an issue. That's something that we have to talk about. We have to address. The B'nai B'rith sent a petition around demanding that York University take action in this matter. And we'll see what happens with that. So here's from the article. Just before the article, I just want to mention something that's has a little bit to do with the NCCM. Possibly a double standard going on. Possibly. Bernie Farber the other day posted on his Facebook page, which people have access to. He made the comment, and there's like a controversy going on in York Region, in Vaughan, Thornhill, Clark and Dufferin area, if anybody knows where that area is. There's a school there, high school, called Vaughan Secondary School. And there's a process going on to rename the school. And there's a school trustee, Jewish man, by the name of David Sherman, and he's made some comments on the matter. And apparently it was suggested by a number of people from the Jewish community that it would be a great thing to rename the school after a Holocaust survivor, Elie Wiesel. And what ensued from this whole thing, and I'm not saying it has to be after Elie Wiesel, but anyways, that was one of the proposals. And there were some Black activists, Black Lives Matter type organizations outside the community that were making their voices known. And they were saying it should go to whoever, somebody else, that they would want it named after. And the trustee, David Sherman, said that this really is an issue involving members of the community here that have a real connection with the school. So he's being raked over the coals by certain groups and people. They're saying you're, maybe accusing him of some form, maybe of racism, or that's what's going on. So Bernie Farber issued. So remember, they're taking their shots at. And when you're a public official, you better have thick skin, because right or wrong or middle, you're going to hear it from everybody anyways on a variety of issues. So Bernie Farber makes a comment because the NCCM, they sent a letter making their position clear, and they took aim against the trustee, David Sherman, as well. So Bernie Farber, he says, if anyone wants to know what a real advocacy organization looks like, please read the letter sent today from the National Council of Canadian Muslims, NCCM. The letter is in support of renaming Vaughan Secondary School as Hoden Nalea Secondary School. Perhaps this will help other faith groups, faith-based advocacy groups, and others to find their moral compass and join NCCM in their support of York Region's Black and Muslim community. There's also a Jewish community there too. He doesn't say that. CEJA, B'nai B'rith Canada, the Anglican and Roman Catholic churches, the Hindu community, the Buddhist community, LGBM groups, many others. Silence should not be your go-to place. Not now, not ever. When it comes to doing the right thing, we must all stand together. Okay, so let me go back to this professor from York University who's with the NCCM. Has Bernie Farber called on the NCCM regarding Faisal Buddha? Is he troubled by what Faisal Buddha said? I mean, we had the video. And Faisal Buddha, in his article that he wrote, or his letter that he wrote, statement, said he's taken out of context. So here's what he says. The debate was purposely produced in the spirit of free expression and open dialogue. Two panelists, myself included, argued that the controversial International Holocaust Remembrance Association definition does risk silencing critics of Israel. Two other panelists argued that it doesn't. I was the only panelist who was not Jewish. Okay. 2 weeks later, based on comments I made on the panel, I became the target of a national petition calling on my employer, York University, to ban me from teaching human rights. The petition was part of a smear campaign initiated by B'nai B'rith Canada, designed to falsely make me look like an anti-Semite. Who would think? The petition put a target on my back. You know what? I would invite him to come on the show to explain himself. No problem. I got no issues with that. The petition put a target on my back. The racist hate mail began to arrive on cue. The attack on my career didn't end with the petition. B'nai B'rith CEO Michael Mostyn wrote private letters to York University President Rhonda Lenton demanding my removal from the classroom. Although President Lenton rejected the demand in her own private correspondence with Mostyn, she never made any public statement to denounce the petition and defend my academic freedom, even after she learned of the racist and hateful abuse. That failure in leadership is the subject of a grievance brought by my union, the Osgoode Hall Faculty Association, against the university. Then in September, as I was teaching legal ethics to first-year Osgoode students, B'nai B'rith filed a formal complaint against me with the Law Society of Ontario. It alleged discreditable and discriminatory conduct based on the smears. The complaint was so baseless and vexatious that they dismissed it without even opening an investigation. I only found out about it after the file was closed. The bitter irony of being on the receiving end of a B'nai B'rith vendetta is that in making the argument that the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism is dangerous to free speech, I fell victim to the very worry I was addressing, that the definition would be employed to chill criticism of Israel and punish those who dare speak openly. B'nai B'rith calls itself the oldest Jewish human rights organization and a principled grassroots voice. Within 48 hours of the release of the petition, Independent Jewish Voices, and let me add, they support the Intifada. Independent Jewish Voices published a powerful open letter, calling the B'nai B'rith petition a slanderous campaign. I received countless emails of support from total strangers, mostly Jewish. You know, we talked about that in the Parsha. Mostly Jewish. It goes without saying that B'nai B'rith doesn't speak for all Canadian Jews. Let me add some light there. B'nai B'rith certainly doesn't speak for the Independent Jewish Voices, or for J Street, or for Jews for the Intifada. And the majority of Jews support Israel. The IHRA definition's originator, Kenneth Stern, an anti-Semitism expert, warned in 2019 that right-wing Jews are weaponizing the definition to target anyone who criticizes the state of Israel or its founding ideology, Zionism. Similarly, the B'nai B'rith petition takes my words out of context and then recontextualizes them in a way which distorts them badly. Come on the show. I'm not going to take anything out of context. I'm reading your statement. On January 12th, 2021, the Canadian Jewish News reported that the New Israel Fund of Canada, the Canadian Jewish News is not the same Canadian Jewish News it used to be, reported that the New Israel Fund of Canada, a liberal Zionist organization that had previously urged Ontario to adopt the IHRA definition, was reversing its position. In a statement, the group's executive director, Ben Moraine, cited worrying evidence in Canada that at least some actors in the Jewish community believe they can use Ontario's policy to suppress free speech or otherwise curtail academic freedom in order to suppress criticism of Israel. The B'nai B'rith petition targeted me in a way by taking my words out of context and then recontextualizing them with a distinct purpose of distortion. The first comment in question was a critique of Zionism, and the second was a critique of the wording of the IHRA definition. By any objective standard, both comments, properly understood in context, were well within the bounds of an academic discussion. I will briefly summarize my understanding of the issues, what I said on the panel, and what any reasonable observer would conclude based on comments. Okay, I think I'm reasonable, so let's see what its comments are. In discussing Zionism, I referred to a political ideology developed in Europe in the 19th century, calling for the establishment of a Jewish state in what was then a region of the Ottoman Empire populated overwhelmingly by non-Jews, non-European peoples. As Europeans seized and settled many parts of the global south, Zionism used Jewish return, in quotes, as a justification for European settlement in the Middle East. That's what he says. Zionism was, well in the 20th century, a minority view among world's Jews, including most of the Jewish community of Palestine. The brutal outcomes of World War II, including the attempted extermination of European Jewry and the resultant refugee crisis, turned that around. After the war, Zionism came to be widely embraced as necessary for Jewish survival and renewal. After Israel was established in 1948, Zionism became the official ideology of the state. Notwithstanding its post-war purpose of defining Israel, Zionism never defined Judaism or Jewish people. It is still viewed by many Orthodox Jews as heresy, and by many left-wing Jews as bourgeois nationalism. Even liberal Jews now openly question Zionism's moral validity in light of Israel's inescapable record. When one of my fellow panelists emphasized the importance of protecting Zionism from critique, he justified it on the basis that Zionism is about Jewish self-determination. I disagreed. Instead, he goes on, I posited Zionism in practice is necessarily about ensuring Jewish supremacy over Palestinians as a form of ethno-nationalist ideology. It insists upon greater, not equal rights for Jews in the historical land of Israel-Palestine. Today, the population of Jews and Palestinians in that territory is about even. Yet most of the Palestinians living there are stateless refugees, while all of the Jews living there are citizens of a state that privileges them as Jews. Further, Jews anywhere in the world have an automatic right to Israeli citizenship, while Palestinians living there under Israeli occupation are denied citizenship solely because of their ethnicity and religion. Hang on. He goes on. The Zionist goal of Jewish dominance in the Holy Land has been realized and is maintained, but only through violence and discrimination against non-Jews. To say so has nothing to do with hating Jews. It is accurately to describe a reality. Understanding Zionism as systematic oppression makes apparent the parallel to white supremacy. It also highlights Zionism's inconsistency with purposes of anti-colonialism and anti-racism. You know, this is a professor at York University. I asked the question, how many other professors in the faculty for Palestine say this, teach this? According to the police, everywhere, the Jewish community is the most targeted group everywhere. They're the most targeted group in Toronto. They're the most targeted group in Canada. The most targeted group in Europe. The most targeted group in the United States. Israel, the reason why Zionism, when it started, didn't resonate with all Jews, just put them on hold for a moment, with all Jews, was because they were comfortable with their lives in Europe.
Yes.
But then they realized,
I wonder if
that
you could compare.
One moment, sir. Then they realized no one was going to help them. No one was going to help them. And the idea of reestablishing a Jewish state in the land of Israel resonated with the masses because nobody would help the Jews. Nobody would help the Jews. And they went to Israel, those who survived the Holocaust, and built the state. And on day one, Arab armies encircled Israel, and Israel was ready to divide the land, and they accepted partition, and it was rejected. And to this day, those who support the BDS reject any idea of partition. Any idea of partition. And the PLO was formed in 1964, 3 years before the 67 war, before Israel went into what they call the West Bank. Jordan did not have to join the war in 67. They did because they wanted to annihilate Tel Aviv and Haifa. And that's it. And I'm a Jew, and I'm not going to lecture this professor or this guy from the NCCM what it means to be a Muslim. I'm no expert on Islam. I don't claim to be. I accept you know a hell of a lot more than I do about Islam, that I will ever know about Islam. Don't lecture me what it means to be a Jew. And the majority of Jews in the world live in Israel, believe in Israel, and Israel will survive either way, whether you try to defame Israel, those who support Israel, and equate us with white supremacy. That statement on its own, I know what white supremacy is. I know what Nazism is. I don't have grandparents because of Nazis. My father saw kids thrown out of windows to be used as target practice by Nazis because we weren't Aryans or whatever you want to be in Europe. And the motto of the JDL and the motto of Israel and most sane Jews today is never again. And if Faisal Buddha wants to come on the show and explain himself, go right ahead. Go right ahead. And I'll ask you. And you ask me whatever you want to. No problem. No problem. Go ahead, sir. You're on.
Hello?
Well,
Still on.
oh, somebody on the phone?
Hello, are you on the phone still? Oh, let's move on.
Okay.
Call back.
Anyone has any calls, questions, please call. Okay, so somebody, great to see you back. Facebook is fast. Facebook is fast. Well, I don't know. I don't know. You know, sometimes Facebook is not the most friendly place there is. But, you know, I said it on a different show we had. With Facebook, without Facebook, whatever there is, I believe in the butterfly theory. I believe we'll get it done anyways. We'll spread the word. People will become resilient and spread the word in other ways. We'll use Morse code. We'll use cans with a string. We'll send pigeons with a note. You know, we'll get the word out there. And Israel, against all odds, defeated the invading Arab armies and won. And we'll continue to succeed because we know what the truth is. And many people have nothing but envy for the Jews in a negative way, because the very existence of Jews and the very existence of the state of Israel, the Jewish state, is an affront to their misplaced ideas. Why did Islam conquer Jerusalem? And why did they build a mosque on the holiest site of the Jewish people in Jerusalem, on the Temple Mount? Why'd they do that? You hear about Jews going to Mecca, erecting a synagogue there and saying this is our holy place. Why did that happen? So when, you know, Jews came back through Zionism, and it's not a bad word, Zionism, it's a great word. It's not only just a great word, it's a Jewish word, it's a holy word. The return to Zion, it's a mitzvah in the Torah. You know what kind of a mitzvah it is? Many of the mitzvahs in the Torah cannot be performed outside of Israel. They have to be performed in Israel.
One second,
The
Mayor.
Jewish connection to Israel, 100%. Yes, we got a call. Can I help you?
Hello,
Yes.
this is Ilya.
Ilya, how are you doing?
How are you today?
Very good.
I have one question for you.
Go ahead.
Why are you such a racist?
Why am I a racist? Okay, explain your question.
There you
Okay,
go.
well,
Typical left.
you know, I wish he'd stay on the phone. Explain himself. You know, it's amazing. The Germans during the Holocaust, they accused the Jews of all kinds of things, and they took over their homes, they massacred them. Good Germans back then they had no problem, no moral problem with that. They went to church. The husband kissed his wife after a hard day of slaughter. You know, it doesn't say in Judaism to turn the other cheek. We don't turn the other cheek. We don't turn the other cheek. You know, I've been involved in Jewish activism for many years, many, many years. We went after Nazi war criminals. We hunted them down. We're responsible for Ernst Zundel being prosecuted and a lot more happening to him. We're responsible. who went out to Alberta, tracked down the leader of the Aryan nations, toe to toe with guns pointed at us. We're not afraid of anything. Go ahead. We got a call. Yes, can I help you?
Yeah, hey, Doctor calling from the patrol booth here.
Yes.
I'd like to show you a little article, which I think you'll find very interesting, from 1945.
I want to
So
see
here
it.
it is, and tell me what you think.
Okay, let's do it. We need it to be a little bit bigger. Arabs to boycott Palestinian
We have
goods.
another call.
Got another call. Go
About
ahead.
the Ilya again. So-
Okay, sure. Yes, can I help you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's another Ilyo.
Yes.
No, different one. Not
Okay.
not the guy that Roger had a spear called Kapo.
Okay.
But with the same Russian accent. You see.
Okay.
Meir,
Yes.
the last time we were talking about different Jewish denominations.
Yes.
So we talked about that conservative Jews, they are more conservative,
Mhm.
reformist, and progressive Jews. They unfortunately adopted the progressive case.
Yep.
My question: where in this picture conservative Jews are?
Today, you mean in Canada or in the States or in general?
I mean, no, definitely. I'm more interested in what is going on in Canada, but it's a broad question. So I guess that the conservative Jews in Canada, they're well connected with the American fellows.
I would say so. Yeah, there's no question about it. But right now, there's a little bit of a pause there. I guess you could say conservative Jews, they're doing a little bit of a wait and see what's going on with the Biden administration. But conservative Jews are generally the strongest when it comes to supporting Israel. There's absolutely no question about it. And we have to stay that way. We have values that we can't throw away. We have to cherish, and we have to support Israel as much as we can. And whether that means supporting efforts by organizations like CJAR, B'nai B'rith, or the Wintel Center to make sure that governments on various levels and universities adopt the IHRI definition of anti-Semitism, that's extremely important. And, these organizations, they're working hard on that, and they're facing, they work on the political level. I don't. I work on the activist level. We're on the streets with protests and advocacy in that fashion. But they're facing, a tough period of time right now, because you do have Jews for the Intifada, for instance, that are like BDS Jews, that are or BDS enabling Jews that are also working overtime to try to get the government not on a lot of levels not to adopt the IHRI definition. It's unbelievable that you actually have Jews that want there to be double standards against Israel and the Jewish community. It's abhorrent, and we have to be strong and committed. And every Shabbat, just keep it a little better every Shabbat, and we'll get through this.
Thank you, Ilya.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
If he had, I thought he had another question too. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine.
Call back.
That's
Ilya.
fine. That's fine. So listen, we covered a lot of issues there, and there are just so many appointments that Joe Biden has been making. The new ambassador, United States ambassador to the UN, she stated publicly she's against the BDS, but at the same time, she is for a variety of United Nations organizations that are highly anti-Semitic, and she's for re-engaging. The Trump administration cut off the U.S. involvement with these organizations and cut off funding from, let's say, UNRWA and the United Nations Human Rights Committee, various other groups, UNESCO. These organizations were denying the Jewish people their rights to Israel and their historical rights. They deny any connection. We have a hummus share. They deny it. They probably don't even don't want to accept the fact Jesus was Jewish and Judaism came first before everything. They don't want to acknowledge that. So why engage with these organizations again? And why, at the same time, if the Biden administration is serious about adopting the adaptation of the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, would you re-engage with organizations and fund organizations that spread anti-Semitism and that personifies the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism? They should be prosecuted and shut down. There's a great thing going on right now. There are these peace deals that Israel has with various Arab countries. The JDL, myself, we support that. We want peace with Arab countries, real peace, warm peace. And that's what's going on right now. And we're not Islamophobic. That term, we don't believe, we don't fit that criteria because we're not. We're not. We embrace these deals. We think it's great. There's going to be tourism back and forth from Israel, Jews going to those Arab and Islamic countries, and Arabs and Muslims from those countries coming to Israel. And there's trade going on back and forth. We support that. We want that. That's a warm peace. And those peace agreements, and these countries also, some of them have adopted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. You know, so when you have some Islamic organizations, for instance, in Canada and in the United States that are lobbying against the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, well, those Arab countries or Islamic countries that are making peace with Israel, they're adopting it. And they're speaking clearly. And they're changing their curriculum. They're getting rid of anti-Semitism. That's what we want to see happen. We want to see it happen in Judea and Samaria under the PA. We want them to eliminate anti-Semitism from their textbooks. We want the Arabs in Gaza to eliminate anti-Semitism from their textbooks. And UNRWA is in Gaza. We want UNRWA to eliminate anti-Semitism from their textbooks and adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. On the screen, it says Arab-initiated event commemorates Holocaust and wake of Abraham Accords. I mean, it was beautiful. You had Arab leaders commemorating the Holocaust who have signed these Abraham Accords, peace deals with Israel. United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, Saudi Arabia joined viewers. It was amazing. Saudi Arabia as well. Saudi Arabia used to lead the boycott against Israel. Saudi Arabia, they were the first country. They were very involved in denial of the Holocaust material. Before you heard about Ernst Zundel, it was from Saudi Arabia that they sent agents to spread that poison of denial of the Holocaust. They came out with a book at the time, The 6 Million Reconsidered, by a fake name, Bill Grimstad, who was exposed as being a Saudi agent. So I know that because I was involved back then in infiltrating all these different organizations and monitoring them. But Saudi Arabia today, there's warmth from them, and they're eliminating anti-Semitism from their textbooks in their schools. And that's a wonderful thing. And we need more of that. So we would like York University to adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism and see to it that such anti-Semitism is not taught in the classroom. I've heard from Jewish students who feel very uncomfortable in certain classes at York University. Certain classes. And, it's not uncommon because we hear about a variety of campuses across Canada and in the United States. And that's one reason why when President Donald Trump was president of the United States, he adopted the IHRA definition and wanted action taken on the university campuses that if they're spreading anti-Semitism on campus, organizations, and they're allowed to by faculty and the university, that the university will face sanctions, economic sanctions. So it's very important that we move forward and take pride in who we are and where we're going, and that we have to support Israel. Now, supporting Israel really is a minority view because the Jewish people is a small people. There's approximately 14 million Jews in the world. That's not much. That's not much. And there's well over 1 billion Muslims in the world, in the Middle East. So we're outnumbered, but truth is important. And today, like I said, there are Arab countries and Islamic countries that are waking up to the reality and wanting to make peace with Israel, peace with the Jews, a real peace, a warm peace. It's happening. We're very happy about that. We're proud of that. We're proud of the accomplishment. Israel has come a long way. And to make comparisons to say that Zionism is Jewish supremacy, which is the same thing as white supremacy, that's disturbing, very disturbing. We're winding down, so if anybody has any more questions or comments, the number to call, it's on the screen, 647-510-5535. Call, and do my best to address it. Let me see. Let's see some comments here. Somebody put a comment there, Pantulis, Roca, etc. Yeah, those were Nazi war criminals. We took action against Harold Pantulis, and Helmut Roca remained in jail because of JDL. I wonder why. And then he died in jail. 2 Nazi war criminals. 2 of, there were many living here. Let's see. Somebody says, just ate an Israeli Kilk milk truffle bar. Yummy. Try to buy Israeli product. Yeah, do that. There's great places here in Toronto and certainly all over Canada and in the United States. Buy Israeli products. Buy Israeli wine. I mean, it's fabulous, the wine. They rank up there. They're getting awards. There's no question about it. Listen, please support our show. Please make a contribution as well. We need it to buy more equipment, to bring in guests to decorate our studio in a more elaborate manner. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot of Jews, unfortunately, and our allies that they're a little bit winded from the elections. Everybody was very proud for the past 4 years that Donald Trump was president. He was saying some amazing things, taking amazing positions. And, it's not just that, he's not president anymore right now, but there's all kinds of heightened anxiety also because the past year has been a year of hell going through this pandemic, everybody throughout the world. So it seems like politicians don't know what they're talking about, or maybe they're doing their best, but we're getting all kinds of mixed signals from them. It's very difficult. I want to bring on the doctor for a moment before we wrap it up, because he's been monitoring the CJN Lounge, Canadian Jewish News Lounge a little bit, corresponding. They want to make some posts, in fact, and they wouldn't allow it, but they're allowing all kinds of BDS nonsense to be posted. So,
hey, Meir.
Doctor, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing very well.
Good show. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it over here. We always say here in South Texas that we have a lot in common because the Alamo and Masada are pretty much the same thing. So this is our favorite saying here.
Oh, I love it.
We are the 2 Lone Star states. 2 Jews died fighting in the Alamo, and Sam Houston's surgeon was Moises Levy. So, we've been here for a while. Actually, the Conversos were the first to come over to Texas with Columbus in around 1492. And there are some cities in Texas that are named after the Castor family, which were Sephardic Jews. And so we date back in my little town of Victoria, Texas. The first Jew arrived in 1849, and he ended up establishing Victoria Bank and Trust about 30 years later. So, yeah, we make ourselves prominent in not just history, but in banking and in medicine and in philosophy and in music. And, any Jew who's not proud of that and doesn't understand the importance of having our own homeland, they don't really know what it means to be a Jew.
100%. 100%. Like we just said, with the Parsha. It started with, it's unbelievable. 1/5. 1/5 left. One-fifth got it.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. Hey, thanks for a great show. Appreciate it. And I think a good closing slogan is BDS. Buy Israeli products, donate to Israeli causes, and support Israel. That's our BDS for you.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what we do. And, we're out in the streets. We're advocating for Israel. We're defending Israel against all the lies and distortions and hate and anti-Semitism out there. And, with this show, we're taking a big stand against that as well. There's so much going on worldwide, anti-Semitism, and, it's all hot air. And our voices for truth takes a needle and pricks that hot air balloon, and it evaporates. It will. Where's Nazi Germany? They were hung at Nuremberg. They thought they'd be around for 1,000 years, 1,000-year Reich. Israel's around. Nobody thought Israel would be as strong as it is today. Israel is a power. It's almost like a superpower today. That's something to be proud of. The accomplishments from the ashes of Auschwitz to an incredible Jewish state that is diverse, that Jews are seeking meaning to what it means to be a Jew, and they're finding it in Israel. And when they go to Jerusalem, they kiss the Kotel. It's amazing. And if you're able to go up to the Temple Mount, and I was there, and I see the ruins up there of the temple. It's an incredible feeling. It's an unbelievable. And our parents, our grandparents, our forefathers, what they would have given to be able to just touch the soil in Israel. And we're able to. We're a special generation. We're fortunate. Don't fall for the lies and the nonsense and the garbage of the BDS and the J Streets and the New Israel Fund. They're ashamed of being Jewish. That's what it is. Be proud Jews. The way of Moses, the way of the Torah, that will get us through this. That will give us clarity, 100%. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll be here next week. A lot more information, a lot more to discuss. Share this. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We're building that up. We're going to build up on other social media avenues as well, platforms as well. We'll get the word out. There's no question about it. A little bit of chatter was out there the other day by some BDS groups here about the Jewish Defense League, and some weirdo wrote an article, thinks it's an expose against the JDL, and they're writing, Meir Weinstein this, and so on and so forth. It's like dandruff, nobody cares. We don't care. They know nothing about being Jewish, and we do, and we're proud of it. We're really proud of it. And we're proud of the Jewish contribution to humanity as well, and just what Israel has accomplished. Just one more point. The Chief of Staff of Israel, he announced that the army, the IDF, is making plans now for possible action against Iran, because Iran is on the pathway to possibly crossing the threshold to build a nuclear bomb, and they said they want to use that bomb to destroy Israel. Never again. And as Israel is committed to its survival, we have to join and help out in any way we can. In any way we can, which would be a thoughtful, organized, focused way. We have to be there. We have to do it. Thank you very much. Shalom, shalom. Please share this. Let's do it. Amen. I'm Yisrael Chai.